What's up, everybody? It's the It's Just Breaking podcast, episode number 85, yo. And yo, this is a special episode, man. This is a long time coming, yo. Me and James, yo, we wanted this guest for a minute, but there's supernatural beings that stopped us from having this guest a minute ago, yo.
You're supposed to be guest number one.
As you can see, we have the legend from Supernaturalz crew, 7 Commandos, Bboy Dyzee, yo.
Yeah, what's up, y'all? Woo!
Let's go. And obviously, when we have a legend like this, we gotta do it in person, yo. Yo, so first question, Dyzee, yo, what brings you in Toronto right now, yo, and what have you been up to lately?
Oh man, so yeah, right about now, I'm living in Taiwan. I lived in Korea and then I moved to Taiwan. I got some business going on over there, but I got this awesome job that teaching kids PE part time.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Right, and my wife is the art teacher, and that means that we get the summers off, and they'll pay for us to come to Canada every summer.
Hacks.
Right? So we're like, okay, we're gonna do this then. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So that's the reason why we're here. I'm spending with family and just trying to reconnect with the crew. Make plans to come, to launch the sneaker business in Canada. And,
yo, let's go right there, dog. Right there. Check it out, yo. In basketball and Nike, yo, you got Jordan, but in breaking, yo, we got the Dyzees right here. Yo.
The Dyzees ones.
Yo, let's go. So, yo,
Glasses are off. Glasses are off.
Nah, he's serious now.
For me.
Let's go, yo. This is an interrogation, yo. Right, basically, yo, we're in like a weird secluded room in Pickering, dog.
We got him.
Yo, we're about to interrogate him right now. So first off, yo, Dyzee, yo. Let's bring it back, yo. You're back in Toronto, which is perfect because you're one of the legends in Toronto, man. So, How did you start breaking?
Oh my gosh, man, that's just a funny question. But I think I've talked about this quite a few times. But I started I first started seeing breaking around 90, 91, 92. But I never really got into it. It was just I messed around, but I don't really count it. I don't count that I was breaking during that time because everyone was kind of breaking. It doesn't really count, right? For me, I consider myself breaking since 94, but 93 I was kind of messing around because I was back then there's a lot of punks on the street. There was no phones, so everyone had to if you want to go out, you call people beforehand, you all link up, and then you make a decision where to go. So everyone was always chilling in large groups, which made it kind of dangerous because if there was a large group, another large group, there's always some have girls, other have girls, and show off and whatever.
Scarborough Town,
Yeah, Scarborough Town, you know what I mean, all over Toronto was like that, right? You had to roll with a group, especially if you went out to a party. Mm-hmm. You have to roll with at least 10 people or something like that, right?
True.
And so that's there's in every group of people there were people who were breaking. Everyone just messed around. I mean, no one knew what they were doing, but a lot of people braked, right? It was just for jokes. So you don't really call them a breaker. You just call them a wanna be breaker,
I mean,
right?
Yeah.
I was that, but. I started picking it up, and then in 94, I feel like that's when I got serious about it, right? So so I would say I started in 94, and it was just through friends, and through the streets, kind of thing like that, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Actually, I think I told you a story.
Yeah.
One time, right? So we were punks, and we were going to back then, the only place that you would see breaking as at underground parties. There was no internet at that time. There was nowhere you could find it. I mean, you would maybe watch much music and you'd see breaking, and everyone would be like, "Yo, did you see the new track, the new song? Step into a world or whatever, right?" Everyone was watching much music, right? Waiting for Rhapsody and just trying to catch a glimpse of breaking, right? And so we would go to these all ages jams. Somebody would rent the basement of a church hall. Right, super ghetto, mm-hmm. And they would bring their turntables and whatnot, and they would set it up. And when I say it was a jam, that's why when people call it a b-boy jam, I don't really think it's a jam to me, right? Because to me, a jam is people are just going there with the music and just to have a lot of fun, right? It's everything, you don't even know who breaks if people are even breaking. You'd have to wait until they play the old school hip hop, right?
Okay.
And you start looking around is there a circle? Oh, yeah. There's a circle over there. Let's go, right?
Yes, that's lit, yo, bro.
But my earliest memory was, I remember we used to go to these parties, and like I said, you would roll with as many people as you can. And then, you would see something going a huge commotion, right? And you would look, and someone would be getting beat up, right? It'd be a rumble, right? Nobody had weapons in the parties, right? Unless you managed to sneak it in, right? But the security was top notch.
Okay.
They really they did this to your penis, boop, just to check if you're hiding something there.
Yo, man, you can hide a lot of things, bro. You can hide a lot of things, dog.
Right? It's really crazy. I'll never forget that, getting the...
Damn.
Yo, what the hell?
Yo, they don't do that shit no more, right?
Okay, good. No, Yeah.
I wish. Somebody's got to do it.
Pause. All right.
You hear him stand there like,
Do it.
Ain't you gonna...
I just keep going to different clubs and I just go to the line. I don't even go in.
Right? So anyway, one time I remember we saw like a commotion and everyone was yelling like, "Whoa!" and I thought that someone was getting beat up, right? That's literally what I thought. And so I ran and everyone's backs are like in a circle. So I think someone's getting stomped out, somebody's on top of somebody.
God damn, yo.
That's what I'm thinking is happening, right? And everyone's like going, "Whoa!" And I jumped up on the back and I saw breaking, like someone getting down, right? And I was like, "Oh shoot!" Right? Like that was my first like time seeing that like live, like you know what I mean, like
breaking live,
like breaking like live, right? And everyone was going nuts, and then another person would go in, and everyone was going nuts. I don't even know who the people were in there till this day, right? Like you know, there's just people getting down. I think they were Filipinos or something. I can't remember. Right?
Yo, man, it goes all the way back. Right now, the best b-boys in Toronto are basically Filipino, dog. Still keeping the lineage.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how I got into it, and then there was, I think a big thing, to be honest, for myself. I mean, like there was like, so much things about in like breaking wise. Like you heard of all the crews like back then. There was Bag of Chicks were like the superheroes. You know, they were on Much Music. You know what I mean? And there was also the other crew that made it on, which was Intricate. And you know, and they all wore gray jumpsuits, and they were like, you know, they were fresh. And then you also heard the name Supernaturalz, but you never saw them on TV. But you heard the name. But then when you did see them finally, they just look like thugs.
That's what I heard, yo. All the OG crews, all the OG breaking, they're all like gangsters and shit, yo.
All the times have changed.
Yeah, I mean, look at fast forward now. It's all like when during that generation with Supernatualz, it's all Asian people. Anton, Antics, it's Asian motherfuckers, yo.
The invasion.
It's totally,
the invasion, are you saying?
Yeah. Well, for me, to be honest, right, like there was a really big myth. Then I only saw a couple of glimpses of him, but everyone was like, "There's this guy. He's the best. His name is Gizmo." Right?
Oh, okay.
You know? And he's Filipino. And you're like, what? So because of him,
The meta.
everyone who's Filipino is like, yo, if he could do it, I can do it, right?
Okay.
And then the few times that you catch him in the circle, and everyone's like, that's Gizmo. You can hear it, that's Gizmo, right? I'd be watching, and he just had a million moves, right? Like moves that you never seen before, right? Like at that time, right? Like I still remember I was born in '79, so I was actually born in the '70s.
Okay.
Right? And I still remember breaking in the '80s, right? Like you know, I saw it all over. It was all over TV. I was a kid, right? But when you saw, like you know, the b-boys getting down, especially someone like Gizmo, it was just all this new stuff that you never saw, like just like little patterns, little tiny little tricks, and just yeah, man. So that's how breaking. That's what I saw breaking. And I thought to myself, it's whoever has the most moves, the most original moves. That
Right.
was my perspective.
So basically, from watching Gizmo, that gave you like that mentality that like, oh, because you're like one of the most original b-boys, especially coming up throughout Toronto. So did that influence your style?
Of course. I'm a byproduct, 100% of Toronto, right? Of the people who came before me, especially my crew, where I got all my values, my ideas. Like I got a head start from Supernaturalz for putting me down, right? But also my rivals, right? Like I had such huge people to compete with, right? Like such dope, nasty b-boys that I had to, that I rivaled with everybody, right? So I have to give props to my rivals as well. You know what I mean?
True. Who are like some of the crews that you're rivaling during like that time?
Well, of course every crew was a rival for us, right? Anyone that was really dope. If we didn't rival with you, then that means
you're like nobody. You're like an ant.
No, I'm not saying that they were nobody, but that means we're always like trying to prove ourselves, right? And so we wanted to be better than everyone. Of course, you want to be better than everyone. Wants to be better than everyone, right? Like no one says, no, I don't want to be better than them, right? But of course, Bag of Trix was up there. Boogie Brats got out, right? And then there was my crew, and then later on there was FAM and DDT, and all these major crews that were all rivaling, and all of them were super dope. And here we are, like, no, we don't want anyone else to be dope. Right?
True.
That's how you think at that age. You know what I mean? We're kids, so
that makes sense.
So the rivals weren't united at that time.
No, that's why United Rivals makes sense, because people are from different crews, right?
Back then, before globalization shit, everyone was against each other, but now, you gotta team up together, Team Canada, motherfucker, against the world, Fuck you, Japan, fuck you, Russia, like all the motherfuckers, we gotta team up together,
I said globalization.
Global world order, dog.
Shut up.
But Open borders.
Exactly. One world, dog.
One Earth.
Give me the microchip. Boom, mark of the beast. Woo.
Bam. Yo, wait, but imagine that though. Imagine you get a microchip in your head. You'd be like, everyone would be like Shiga kicks and stuff, yo. Like AI breakers.
That's
basically.
the Elon Musk chip right there. You're just gonna look like sugar kicks.
All right, yo, we don't want to get canceled. We're gonna stop talking about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. You never know what's gonna happen.
True.
Yeah,
Ah, so-
say the
No,
keywords.
we just gotta say we're down with the one world order.
Just
Yeah,
bleep
bro.
the whole thing out. Just bleep it out.
True.
Yeah.
All right, yo. So let's take it back. So like I remember one very interesting thing I remember you telling us before, like the podcast or whatever, was like the bag of tricks. How bag of tricks was the west side and Supernatualz was the east side. So
Yeah. Oh, so back then, right? Like I was saying that every crew, not breaking crew, but every crew of people or gang, you know what I mean, or whatever.
Yeah.
If they had a name, then they're considered a gang, right? If they were they didn't have a name, they're considered a crew, right? Like, you know. So every group of people, right, whether they had a name or not, they had like one or two guys that braked, right? You know, and so you would think of like the biggest like street crews and street gangs that were all around, right? They would meet each other at a jam, local party or local jam, and then the two guys would battle, right? Like, you know, because the music goes off, people make a circle, you don't know who's breaking. Someone jumps in, he's throwing down, he's getting the attention from the ladies. People are like,
okay.
and then all of a sudden somebody else jumps in, and you know, it's kind of like it's just the way that things were naturally like happening, right? And then but as they battled and they were dope, right? It would get heated, people would be yelling, but you know, if you were battling someone and I had all my boys with me, even though this guy was a rival, right, or a person I didn't like or whatever, it was weird. I wouldn't want to necessarily kick his butt, like, you know what I mean? Because I was just like, okay, this guy's a breaker. Like, I was just more interested in seeing what he's got, right? So we'd be battling. So you'd have to be respectful as much as you can, because if you didn't, your boys are gonna you know, if I was like, yo, well, like, you know, start stepping to this guy, my you know, and I've seen that happen, right? Like, you know, there was so anyways, let me scale it back. There was people would battle, and then they would either become enemies or they become friends.
Oh,
right?
okay.
You know, like two guys, they'd be like, yo, where do you practice? You practice? Yo, you're dope. Yeah, blah, blah, whatever. You become friends. And then you'd probably battle with another two guys, right? And then that would then you'd meet, you become friends, and then it would multiply, right? So that was the 5 deadly venoms, and then it became, when the 6th member joined, it became Supernaturalz. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
True.
yeah.
Wait, who are the 5 deadly venoms? Like
the 5 deadly venoms were the original Supernaturalz. That was Curtis, Lego, Stripes. It was a guy, Revere, and I think there's one more person. I can't remember. I think it was.
We'll get the shirt.
Yeah.
We'll get the anniversary shirt.
I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. Anyway.
It wasn't Jedi, was it?
No, he was the 6th.
Oh,
He was
okay.
6. And then it became Supernaturalz when he joined. So there's like kind of like a thing out there where he's saying like, you know, he started Supernaturalz.
The original Supernaturalz,
right?
right?
It's kind of like, you know, and it makes sense because when he joined, then the name came out.
Yeah.
Right? So it makes sense why he says that. But then other guys are like, no, we were already a crew.
It was already a thing.
Since '92, we were already a thing, and then we just changed the name, right? So
he changed the name of Supernaturalz.
to Supernaturalz.
There we go. It's all semantics.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
True. So
Yeah.
so one interesting thing about like Supernaturalz that maybe a lot of people don't know is like you guys actually have like a generation or like a lineage or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess like church, like from what you can you break down like the generation?
Yeah, sure.
Because I think like I remember when I was following, like, holy shit, this girl has like a
And if you
fucking
can,
history.
yeah.
and a bonus answer,
Uh-huh.
if you can count, how many do you think there are altogether? Because I saw the shirt. I know the 15-year anniversary
yeah.
shirt. That's when I first started, and I
Yeah.
saw that.
Yeah.
And I was like, how the?
Yeah, it was like super
It's
interesting.
like a whole
yeah.
glossary.
I believe that we're at 8 now, right?
Now
like,
it's 8.
Like right, for sure there's 7, and I'll break it down. Okay, so the first generation was called the OG generation, and when we have a Supernatural anniversary that's public, we always do kind of like a throwdown by generation, whoever's there, and then we explain the story, right? So, but I'll explain the story how it goes. So, the first generation we call them the OG generation because they were the original gangsters. Oh, nice.
I got you, bro. I got you. I'm Jamie in this. Yo, Joe Rogan, dog.
The original. So I think this was actually some part of this is actually wrong, but it's close.
okay.
It's close.
Wow,
No,
get out.
So the OGs, right? The original gangsters, but they were people who were more serious about the street life, but they braked and they were dope.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the originals, right? And then and some of them were like young and whatever, but but that was the first one. The second generation, so they got, a lot of them got kind of like in trouble or got into the other stuff, and so it only lasted a couple of years before everyone kind of split up, and then it revived with a whole bunch of new people, which became the second generation. Right?
And you were in the second generation.
That's my generation, the second generation. I joined in '95, I believe, '95, right? And that was the hardcore generation, and that was myself. It was Migas. Actually, Migas was in the crew before me. He's the reason why I got in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
We'll ask about that later.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, he brought me in, and then there was a guy Littlefoot who was a nasty Filipino guy. There was a guy named Smoke. He's the one who kind of introduced me, right, to the crew, and I knew him. He was a Filipino guy. Smoke was a part of a gang called Jamestown, which was
Jamestown.
Yeah.
Jamestown
okay,
boys.
sure.
Yeah, they were like, so, right.
Actually,
I'm just gonna check the camera like periodically.
Yeah, this happens all the time. Usually goes to the bathroom. Yeah,
No worries.
parts of my crew at Jamestown, actually.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Jamestown. Yeah, that was the hardcore generation. There were people who were serious about breaking, but they were still punks. Like they were part of like
they're in that life.
They were part of that life, but they were more serious, like hardcore about breaking, like more serious about that. They went to practices, they trained together. They were like before that, people would just kind of, they didn't go to practice, right? Like you just kind of like were at someone's house, you're chilling, and then you would kind of like throw down.
It was like it's like literally for fun.
Yeah, it was like natural, but there was people who were just natural at it. But the hardcore generation, we were actually practicing, like, let's go hit up Boys and Girls Club in Galloway or something, you know what I mean? Like, So that's the hardcore generation. And then that only went for a certain period until Migas left the crew. And then I got kind of, like, in some ways, I kind of like had to leave Canada because I got caught up in some crazy stuff, and then I went to the Philippines on a one-way ticket, and then I came back 6 months later, right? And then the crew was done, right? There was no crew, right? And so that's when we have the revival generation, right? So I don't know what this there. It says Skills to Kill.
Yeah, Skills to Kill.
Yeah, Skills to Kill. We call that the revival generation, right? Because you literally revived it by bringing in people from Skills to Kill. So I come back to Toronto. We go to Scarborough Town Center. That's the only place to practice, and that place like saved me. You know what I mean?
I've been there.
You've been there, right? When it was like it was popping. All these people came from all over, breaking. You had to go rapping. We were watching one Eastern Park, right? Like with Jin the MC.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah.
It was so fun, right? People
Yeah.
were like rapping. People are on the books, like right, like like everything, right? And so, I get down. Like with all the people who were there, who were like rugrats. We had 2 crews, Skills to Kill, and then we also formed another group called Natural Flow. Right?
Oh, Natural Flow. That's Trouble was in that juice.
He got into that later. So those were later generations, right? So Skills to Kill, Natural Flow, they started like getting big, and then later, me, Lego, and we were all having this meeting, right? And we're like, yo, why don't we start up Supernaturalz? And then we're like, well, what about all these guys? Let's see if they'd want to join. So we just asked everyone, hey, you guys want to keep repping Skills to Kill, or do you guys want to be down in Supernaturalz, right? And everybody was like, we're down to be Supernaturalz. Because back before, Supernaturalz is like, even though it's a breaking crew, but it had a name with the streets, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so if you're like, yo, I'm part of Supernaturalz, then you kind of can get a pass, right? Like, oh yeah, yo, my boy's in that crew too, so yeah, I'm gonna leave this guy alone. You know what I mean?
Oh, true. It's like a
hood pass.
It's a hood pass. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like that anymore, right? I don't think you can do that now, right? But back then you could do that, right? And let me just say that it's not just Supernaturalz, right? I just want to make that clear that, like the same thing of how crews got together like that is the same way that Bag of Trix, got together, and all the other crews were kind of getting together like that, like, you know what I mean? It was like, it wasn't easy to get into a crew, you know what I mean? Find a crew, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like an initiation that you have to like know them like very well.
You battle them, and then, you have your boys, they have your boys, so you have this respect for each other, like above breaking, like, okay, you got skills, but you're also down with these guys, and like, okay, cool, like, it literally brought peace to the different cliques, you know what I mean, right? Like, it was kind of awesome how hip hop can do that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I also remember you mentioning that, like, I guess once you get put in, you kind of share their history too.
Exactly. So anybody who got down with Supernaturalz, like, even for myself, even though I got down in the second generation, but I picked up all the values and all the methods of thinking, and like, of hip hop, of everything, like breaking, the routines, the teamwork, like, it all I picked that up, and then we added to that, and then we brought that to the next generation. So it's like you're bringing a history, and being part of a crew is the good thing about that is you have a history that you're carrying on. You're part of a lineage, right? Like, you know. And so, anyways, that was the revival generation. After that, we started getting really big, right? We started becoming like an army because we had mad people already, right? Like, you know, and we were just like, so, you know, in some ways we're just causing trouble. We were trying to battle everybody, and, you know, and of course, because we had some older guys, we had younger guys. The younger guys have that fire to just, you know, like be like rowdy, right?
Right.
So of course that got us not only the problem is, like, you know, Supernaturalz affiliated is not affiliated, but how do you say it? They're kind of like, people would say, yo, they're connected with these
Like
Scarborough gangs,
okay,
right?
gang
And then if you
presence.
say like Bag of Trix, oh, those guys are from the West End, right? And they're so. No matter what, there's the East against West kind of thing, right? Like
Yeah,
just,
that's always a thing
right?
with rap,
Like, you know?
Biggie, Tupac, that.
Yeah,
all
just
like
like,
that
yo,
kind of thing.
like the West End, right? Again, and there's the East End, and we're always kind of like, you know, there's beefing. Like everyone says, oh, you can't hang Scarborough people. You're hanging out in Jane and Finch, you're gonna get jumped. If you're like Jane and Finch people trying to roll into into Scarborough, you're gonna get jumped. You know, that's the way that you know you would think. So so there's old beef and stuff that happened that it made it hard for the next generation, you know, to be friends with, you know. So for example, I was rolling with Jamestown boys at one point and everything, right? And we were boys, and we were the guys who break together. We're having fun, but when these guys joined with, you know, Bag of Trix, and I joined with Supernaturalz, all of a sudden it's like we're not allowed to be friends anymore. You know what I mean? It was kind of weird, right? Like how that happens, you know? Yeah, but we're cool now, like, you know, because that was just kid stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then after that. That was, what generation am I on now?
So
those three
Skills to Kill, expansion.
Yeah, expansion. So we started getting people outside of like we just wanted to grab a whole bunch of people, right? So we started getting from Hamilton, we got some people from Stylelords, which was Trix. We got Jester.
Yeah.
And then we started getting people from out of town, like from Connecticut. So we got this guy Problem Child, right? And he was from Problem's crew from
Minnesota?
No, Connecticut.
Connecticut,
right?
yeah.
And his girl was Abby Girl, right? Like, you know, Abby Girl is like a legend. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you know? And so she got down, and we were growing so big that all of a sudden we were like, yo, this is getting too big. Like, there's too many people. So, like, we're worried with loyalty because there's always a loyalty issue, right? Like, some people join the crew, and then they leave, they get good, and then they leave. And then, and then they don't give it up, and then they're like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's kind of like, so we always had this thing where, like, yo, because of the original generation, is once you join, you should be down for life. You know, you need to be loyal, right? Like, you shouldn't like be, you know, quitting, flip flopping, or whatever. It's if you join, you should be down. And so we close the doors. We're like, nobody else can get through, right? And so during this time, we were just focusing on ourselves, but there were other guys that were coming up, right? And there was one guy named Puzzles.
Everyone knows him, yo.
Yeah, like,
I know that guy.
World famous, world famous, right? And he started like, you know, we started like, it was kind of weird because he was cool with all the other guys, and so we were the bad guys. But because we're in Scarborough and he's in Pickering, it's kind of close, so the practicing together became easier. So we started kind of training together.
Okay.
Right, and but just because like at the first Back Underground when we battled against DDT, right? Just because he's in the crowd, and at one point someone called me a biter, and he just was like. And he did it too, right?
Oh, shit.
He just kind of did it, right? Like,
Yeah.
He probably wasn't even watching. It was funny. We laugh about it now. But just because of that one thing that someone saw, they're like, he can never, ever get into Supernaturalz.
Oh, shit.
Right?
Oh, shit, true.
Like, you know? And so he was battling everybody in our crew, and everyone was like, no, you will never be down. But half of us, right, the Asians.
Kind of, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Don't worry, right?
True.
You know? And then it took so long that like at the last, finally, right, he was like, he thought that he was not going to get down anymore, but then we talked to everyone and said, look, man, he's dope. He hasn't got down with anyone for 3 years, right?
Yeah, that's
we
loyal,
practice him
bro.
all the time, you know, and he's dope, right? Like, you know, like, let's just, can we get everyone's blessings? Everyone's like, fine. And everyone signed the shirt. And then when we had a jam, like one of the Back Underground jams, we gave him the shirt, and then he got in. And because he got in, it kind of opened the door. So we were like, well, what about all the other guys who've been around for a while. So we kind of brought them in, and that was the 5th generation called the Breakthrough, right? Because they were all the people that kind of broke through that barrier.
So Puzzles was the guy that kind of opened the gates. Because before the expansion, the gate was closed, but 5th generation, Puzzles broke through, and now.
So he comes through. So he comes through, and we have a new generation of people that were like, okay, fine, you can be down too. So that's Kazi, because Kazi was a young buck. Then we had Teddy Rockspin, we had this guy Lethal, we had Antics. And we're kind of like, okay, you guys can be, you can be down because you wanted to be down, so fine. But internally, there was never a leader in Supernaturalz, right?
Oh, okay.
It was just kind of like, we just had the older people that we had respect for, but there was never a leader. And so some of us started to fight and butt heads so much that we could not get along. And I feel like I'm part of the blame, because at that time I was not a good guy. I have to say that I was a really like selfish, like, you know, egocentric, you know what I mean? Like just in my own world, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I was very selfish, you know? And so we didn't get along. I mean, I'm just like most people. We're good when we're good, but then, you know, but if someone pisses you off, then you're like, you have like, you know, your ego doesn't allow you to like try to you know, work it out and whatnot, you know what I mean? So that's what kind of happened. So the crew was kind of split up, but everyone was still loyal to the name, you know, even though some people didn't talk. And so the crew was kind of like dead under the water, you know what I mean? And even though everyone repped the name, nobody chilled. No, like Supernatural was doing nothing anymore. You know?
Right.
And it was kind of sad. And then I remember this is what brought in the next generation, which I call the rebirth. But I think on your
the revival.
It's written as revival. It was the rebirth because. So this is what happened, right? So I'm breaking with Puzzles, and Puzzles was just trying to make his name on his own, right? Like, you know, he was just like, yeah, he didn't want to just ride the name Supernaturalz, right? He wanted to like have his own name and bring something to Supernaturalz. He had the right mentality, right? Like, you know, you're not just part of a crew, but you want to bring a name to yourself to further strengthen the crew. You know what I mean? That was his thinking, right? And so he was like, and so he started like basically like there's Bridge moved to Toronto, and the crew kind of like was split up, and I was just kind of like, yo, what am I doing now with breaking, like, you know, like, and so I felt like, you know what. Like I was so broke from breaking, right? There's no money, you know? There's no money in breaking. It was like, I'm not good with money. I never had any business background, nothing, right? So I've just had a ghetto mentality my whole life. And I was like, you know what, Sav? I was like, Puzzles is, you know, I call him Sav. I was like, Sav, you know what? You've been really super loyal, but I think that like you should like try to join another crew or something like that.
Oh,
like,
shit.
You know?
Okay.
I was like, it was like so
that
sad.
That sounds heartbreaking.
So heartbreaking. It's a sad story, right? It's a sad story. I'm like, you know what, man? Like, I've done everything, you know what I mean? And, you know, I'm struggling here, you know what I mean? And so I just need to, I think I got to do something else, you know what I mean? And he's just like, no, what? Like, you know, what? He's like, what do you need? Like, what would keep you breaking? Like, I was like, man, I've done everything solo-wise, right? Like, you know, I got my name out there, you know, I mean, like, I can't just do it for myself anymore. Like, breaking solo is just like, to me, there's too much like pressure and things and whatnot. Like, I enjoy breaking with a crew and being like, get him, yeah, and laughing together and screaming together. But when you're alone, even if you're entering and winning and doing things by yourself and traveling by yourself, I mean, maybe other people like it, and that's cool. But to me, it's just like, it's not the same as really being with your boys and experiencing it together. You know?
Yeah, 100%.
So I was just like, man, I want to like do this. Like, if we had our crew, Supernaturalz, and we're you know, battling together, then I would do it. You know, that would be the only thing that would keep me, because I want to make. I had a name, but I wanted Supernaturalz to have a name. You know what I mean, right? Like, you know, like Bag of Trix had a name, Boogie Brads had a name. As far as Toronto was concerned, I had a name, but Supernaturalz is like, oh yeah, he's part of Supernaturalz, but who's Supernaturalz?
Right. In terms of the breaking scene, like not as many people in the
yeah, internationally, right? This is like 2003, 2004, right? Like people did have, at one point people had, Supernaturalz had a name, actually, right? Like 2001, 2002, when me, you know, Jay Rebel, Mouse, and all of them, we were getting a huge name on the East Coast, and we were battling, and all of a sudden we started losing a lot, you know, and I won't go too deep, but then we started losing battles, like, you know, and we were like, why? We won like this last time, why are we losing now? Like, you know? Anyway, fast forward to the, you know, the crew collapsing, because it's just like every crew. Your crew goes up, and you hit this wall, right?
And most crews, they just die.
And you just die, right? Like, you know? So we're here on the verge of death again, and he's just like, what would it take? And I said, if Supernaturalz. And he goes, well, what do you want to do? Okay, I'll build Supernaturalz with you, you know? And I was like, well, he goes, what would you want to do? And I said, you know what? What I'd want to do is take all the people who are breaking with us, like, you know, how we're training together, like, see how everyone's training, like, here in Pickering.
Yeah.
I was like, there's all these guys. I feel like they're loyal. We see them all the time. We train with them all the time. Let's just ask them if they'd be down to be Supernaturalz and start fresh, start new, even though they're not ready. You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of a weird kind of move, right? Mm-hmm. And so he was like, yeah, man, I'm down. I'll do that. That's going to keep you breaking. You know what I mean?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay. So the first person, not based on, we didn't choose like a list, but we said, okay, these are a bunch of people. Let's see who. And then the first person we saw was Anton. Right? And Anton was actually like the least best out of all of them.
Shout out to Anton, bro.
Right? I mean, he could like do some stats.
Korean shit.
The yo-yo style.
He
He
the
break
Korean
exactly
shit.
like Koreans.
Yeah.
Right? He break exactly like the Koreans, which was totally not how we think or how we break. But we're like, you know what? He's got a bit of talent. You know what I mean? Like, he's got some talent. So we just asked him. We sat him down. We're like, hey, here's what you think. You would want to get down Supernaturalz. Right?
What? Really? Bro, I know that's it.
Yeah.
He was like, yes.
Yo.
Bro, I know this guy played wild during that time. It's like getting invited to a famous guild,
there
bro.
was no thinking. Oh man, But part of me, because he was already part of another crew, and there was like 3 or 4 guys. But the other guys didn't come to practice so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason why he got down and they didn't. But if they were practicing and we saw them, we probably would have put them down too, or tried to, or asked them. But they never came out. And then when they found that he was down, and they just took it like, okay, well, he's down with them, and they just fully quit.
True.
I always felt kind of bad about that because I don't want anybody to quit, right? I want to.
Fuck it, bro.
Fuck them.
Right?
It's probably the fittest.
Yeah,
They die. They die.
Yeah, exactly.
So to me, that's the rebirth of generation, right? Like it was like a new birth, a new beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I told you the story that in order for that to happen, there was a big problem, right? The rest.
Yo,
of
this history, this story is nice, yo. I remember this.
The rest of the Supernaturalz, were like, so these guys are a whole bunch of Asians and a couple of white guys, like nerdy Asian guys. And then the originals are kind of like the older guys. They're like, they're all mainly black and like big and like
gangsta shit.
They're like, and so I was like, so I had to call Jay Rebel, and I didn't talk to him for like years.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't talk to him. He would not talk to me.
Oh shit.
Right? And then when the second he heard that I'm trying to build a crew with Supernaturalz, he called me. He's like, what the F, man? Yo, what are you trying to do? What the heck you trying to do? And I was just like, and I wasn't like a punk anymore because I just like, I just had a spiritual encounter with God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm totally kind of like a new person.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yo, like, I'm just trying to like continue the legacy. And he's like, what legacy? Like, what are you talking about?
Dude,
What legacy?
this is so funny.
Like the legacy of the crew, like that will live on. And he's like, what do you mean? Because in his mind, he thought, yo, we're gonna be guys who are dope, and then we'll stop, and that's it, and we're gone, right? That was his perspective, and so I had to explain to him, no, we're dope, but we pass it on to the next generation. They carry on the name, and he's like, what? He's like, okay, let's have a meeting, right? So I was like, so I told all the
emergency meeting.
all the Asians, right? All the Asians and puzzles and everybody, and I was like, okay, we have to meet the rest of the crew at my house. And so it was funny. They all came, nice cars, right? Like, Asians with the nice cars.
Oh shit.
And all of a sudden, the whole other squad came,
TTC?
TTC style. But, like, everyone coming in one big group and walking in, right? Like big, they brought everyone, like, not even guys who were, like old school guys who were just, like,
around.
They don't even break anymore, but they're just, like, around.
Yeah.
We consider them part of the crew, and they don't even break,
Yeah.
And they all came in, and it was, like, the tension was so, like, they were all sitting around. In a
was it literally like this, like Asians on one side and blacks on the other?
No. Actually, it was like all the blacks, and then Asians in the corner. They're all trying to sit on one couch together, and they were so quiet. They were just like, because we were yelling at it, literally yelling. We're like, yo, what the? And this guy, and they're pointing at this mother effer right here. Blah, blah. We're just
This
like,
motherfucker plays World of Warcraft.
It was nuts. Right? They were like, yo, you're gonna start this. Who's this guy? This guy's splat. Like, they were just like going off.
Oh shit.
But I just stuck to one thing. I said, look, I have a plan, right? Like, these are guys who are loyal and they understand about loyalty. And I was just like, they understand about loyalty, right? Like, they're going to, like, they understand about being down for life. Which is kind of funny because in Assam we aren't down anymore. But
Yeah.
it's okay, right? Like, things change, things change. But like, yeah, and I was just like, yeah, like, whoa, I stuck that quiet all of a sudden.
Yeah. Now they're listening.
Yo, he's cooking, bro. It's good. It's good.
Yeah. So in the end, right, like, you know, we flip-flopped back that night. We were there forever, and we flip-flopped back and forth, and they were like, no, you can't. Call yourself something else then, right? And then later we were like, what is it? And then in the end, they were like, fine, we're going to give these guys the blessing. They came up, and they shook everyone's hand, right?
That's
like,
so
all right,
funny.
fine. And they were all like,
Damn, yo, I wish I was there to see. That's
and
funny.
it got down, and then that's how everyone got down, right? Like, it was crazy. We were like, it's a package, right? Like they were like, no, not this guy. We're like, no, it's gotta be a package.
Not this. Who was the not this guy?
I remember, because I remember we talked to Bridget. Bridget was like, yo, we want everyone. I mean, we don't want anyone except for Bridge. Yo.
Oh yeah,
Because he was that guy.
Yo, but it was dope, right? Like, I mean, because and then we're like, there were some guys who were like antics, like they got in the crew before, but right in the generation before, but it was at the end of that generation. So some people didn't even know they were down.
Oh
there.
yeah, because you said there was like a little split or whatever.
Yeah. So that's what brought in the sixth generation, which was the fifth generation. Six.
Yeah.
Six, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the rebirth. And then after that, we had a super dope run from 2005 to 2009.
This was like prime Supernaturalz, where it became international.
Yeah, like 2006. We trained from 2005 to 2006. And then after that, we started entering. We went to Montreal and we won our first battle. And then we literally won, like, as much as I remember when I was there, we won 9 out of 10 battles, right?
Damn.
9 out of 10 battles. Like, that's like, our ratio was so good that I, like, you know, like, so if you ask some people from Toronto, they say, you know, whenever I was there and I battled, we never lost, right? I mean, I'm not saying I've never lost, right? There are some people that have beat me, you know what I mean? And I accept I accept my loss. But I was always like, I never want to lose to anybody younger than me.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it was a great run. And then once again, the whole thing about like that, you know, I got married, you know, I had was living in my own, you know, mortgage and everything.
Yeah,
on a B-boy
life shit,
wage,
adult shit.
On a B-boy wage. And I was like, I went to like 30 grand in debt, you know.
Damn, okay.
Damn.
And I was like credit card debt too. So it was
high interest.
It was high interest, and I was struggling, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm like on the brink of bankruptcy. I have a wife, you know what I mean, like a newlywed, and I'm just like, what am I doing? And right, and so, you know, that's the reason. And then still, like, because I'm from Toronto, I have a lot of friends in Toronto, right? Like not B-boy related, but just lots of friends, right? And it was just like Toronto was such a crazy time when people were partying and the underground scene of party scenes, and I just wanted to get out of this life, right? So, so I needed to move, and so that's why I left. And
this is when you moved to Korea?
I moved to Korea, yeah.
Okay.
Because the reason why I moved to Korea, because I was like, yo, why can't I if I'm the number one, you know, at that time, like at least number one, or at least tied for number one B-boy in Canada, right? And I got like the Back to the Underground. I have an office where we do the events. You know, I have all these things. I run all the practice spots. So I was the first person to start the city practice spots. I'm the first City of Toronto employee to run sessions. You know what I mean? And so I made that. So and then it started spreading from there, right?
St. Lawrence.
St. Lawrence, Missouri.
You're welcome. Say you're welcome right here.
Shout out to TJ, he's keeping the lineage, but Dyzee was the seed.
He's keeping it alive, exactly. It's dope that people are keeping it alive and they're opening up their own sessions, man. It's amazing. I just want to say something. When I came and I went to Medicine Hat, and every time I look at Toronto and in Canada scene, I'm blown away by like how dope everyone's got. I'm like, what the heck?
That's good, yo.
What's going on here? Like, what happened? Like, yo, it's amazing. Like, I'm just like, yo, it's such an honor just to see everyone, and the skills, the talent, and just the unity too. Actually, you know, like, I mean, of course, there's gonna be some beef here and there, but the fact that you guys are able to have done that, accomplished that, you know, it took me leaving in order for that to happen.
You're welcome, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's also the product of the time too, because overall everyone's like more like chill with each other. I guess because of YouTube and shit. Because a lot of kids that are starting, they weren't like gangsters or anything. They're just like nerds, yo, basically.
Yeah, that's cool too. I mean, I think like it's for everybody, right? I mean, it's not for everybody actually. Breaking's not for everybody. It takes a certain kind of person to want to have to break.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
It's a certain kind of person. Not anybody can just do it, because you're going to be like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
This hurts.
Yeah.
People are up in my face. People are making me feel like crap. Like, you know, like there's so many reasons to not do it. So there's a special ingredient that can't be named that makes people want to break.
Right.
So anyway, what was my point? I was going down a road.
Unity in Toronto, and people are getting better every time.
Yeah.
And it's because of you, because you ran the practices.
Oh yeah, so no.
I'm fucking around.
But we ran events. I was the only one running events back to underground, and then now many people do events, and which is great, right? But even doing all of that, there was months that I had money, and 3 months later, all that money is gone, right? And I'm like stressing, and that's the reason why I had to leave. I had to say either I have to change, like I got to do something else, or breaking has to change.
Right?
Breaking's got to change. It's got to go up, right? And when I saw that in Korea, people were driving nice cars. At that time, no people was driving nice cars.
Yeah.
Now there's so many nice cars all out in the parking lot, right? But during that time, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. And so I packed up, went to Korea, and I learned the industry about braking and how much money is moving through the braking. Not for the dancers though, right? But there's money moving, right? And it's just. Yeah, I learned a lot. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, so I guess so right now the whole supernatural history and stuff. I feel like we're gonna do a part 2 with Dyzee, but I think for this episode, like the way it's shaping, I like it that it's like we're gonna focus more towards like that Toronto part.
Yeah.
For our part 2, we're gonna focus on the international, because we got Dyzee, bro. This guy is the man, yo.
And just to say, like, when I was gone, the crew kind of like split up and kind of, like there was more internal things, like without a.
Oh yeah, I guess that was one of the topics too. If you want to like elaborate more on that.
I guess without like I was the glue, the leader in some sense, right? Like we had a structure of how the crew really worked, right? So I was like the main person, and then I had the captain, right? So the general, the captain, and Puzzles was the captain, right? And then when I left, then it was I don't think I properly. Made sure that everything was working fine before I left. I just kind of left and then left it up to everyone else, and so it kind of split up. There were some rotten apples that were in there.
Right.
I'm not going to say who, but there was like some rotten apples that kind of like, and it just slowly, just one after things broke up, and that's why we have the survival generation. That's why Anton was the only one left repping Supernaturalz for how many years? You know what I mean? And slowly, other people kind of got down, and that was the longest drought. The survival generation.
What year would you say that was kind of?
That would be from 2000 and 2012 or 2013 or 14 or something like there, all the way until like 2020.
Now?
Like basically like around now, right?
Yeah, until now, until like in this area now. The longest stretch of like, what's happening, right?
Yeah, you know what's odd, because like I like for my journey, because I started in 2012 as well. So that basically I started when like Supernaturalz was on the decline, and I think a lot of the viewers watching our podcast, we were around that generation too.
Yeah.
So it's like, bro, like if y'all didn't know, man, the Supernaturalz had all that history like right when we started, which is like. It's like such a weird time to like come up. But James, like when did you start? You started like
I started in like 08, 07. So like I saw all that stuff.
You saw all that.
There's a reason I'm a fanboy still,
the reason why I knew Dyzee, because like because I was like a fucking nerd, right? I was like, yo, who's the best b-boy in Canada? Bboy.org or one of those forums. Dyzee. That's how I knew about Dyzee. Like when I first started, I was like, who's Bboy Dyzee? Damn, yo, that's how I knew that like about Supernaturalz.
Yeah, my crew when we started, there was one b-boy. His name we called him Tipsy. Because he used to bite your shit all the time. His name was Taz, and he was like, "Oh, you're Tip Z now." Spelled it the exact same way.
Oh, Taz, yeah. True.
Yeah. That was actually at one point Migas' name was Taz.
Oh yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, full circle, bro.
Taz.
True. So I guess so we're gonna stick with like that with that topic within Toronto and stuff.
Yeah,
sure. So I guess my next question is like, where do you see Supernaturalz going now? Because obviously now like Anton is representing. We have like new members. You guys have new members in Supernaturalz.
So right now, like we started discussing like what's the future, right? What do we want to do with Supernaturalz? And because Anton has been continuing it on, and he's still like has that original loyalty. You know what I mean? And he wants to build the crew, so we give him he's now the general, what I mean, of Supernaturalz, right?
Oh, okay.
So he's making the battle squad. He's calling it, and so in the end, right, like bringing in new members, right? It's gonna go through. It's kind of go through him. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I still kind of like I'm not saying I'm the president anymore or anything. We never fully discussed that. But now we're just kind of like Anton's kind of like leading it, but we have the guys at the back that are like. Kind of like deciding certain things and trying to figure out and work together to.
It's like board of directors shit, right?
Kind of like that, like a board of directors. We want to do the back end stuff, but we want to continue the history. We want to find like new members that are going to be loyal. That that we can like you know, help them to achieve their dreams, and they're gonna in turn, you know, bring, you know, continue the legacy of Supernaturalz.
True. That's
That's
good.
the future. Hopefully, you know what I mean? Yeah.
True, yo. That's good. So I guess going back to your own history. So what would you consider to be your best win throughout
My
all your
best win?
breaking? Like either actually let's do solo first. So what would you say is your
Solo?
best win for solo?
For me, that would be the Rocksteady anniversary, right, in 2001. That's what got my name out there, right? Because back then, you know, BC1 didn't start till 2004, so there wasn't any one-on-one jams that had such a big name except for that Rocksteady anniversary in New York. You know, so since 96, 97, everyone would be going down to Rocksteady from all around the world. There's no other jam that was like the anniversary, you know, because it was straight hip hop. Rappers are all hanging out, like, you know what I mean, like famous rappers, and you're just like, oh shoot, that's Talib Kweli.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
okay.
this is like, you know, you can see them, right? Like, you know, like, oh, that's Gangstar, or that's Guru, you know what I mean? Like, you can see them, right? And so what's called, so when they had the Rocksteady anniversary in 2001, and that year they invited 16 people, right? They were like, they only were gonna do an invite, right? Mr. Wiggle somehow contacted me by email, and he's like, hey, are you the guy that I saw in Toronto, blah, blah. I was like, yeah. He's like, I want you to battle for Rocksteady, it's invite only. And I was like, yes.
You went Anton mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yes. And so, yeah, I went there, and when I won that one, people who were in it were like, you know, Ronnie, Cloud, you know, like
You beat all
these,
those people?
Like, all these, like, you know,
Shit.
it was like all these great B-boys were in that battle, and I remember, but somehow I ended up on top, you know what I mean? And that led my career, right? Because everyone was like, you won Rocksteady, right? Like, people were gonna be like, what? Like,
Yeah, that was like the equivalent of winning BC1, right?
exactly. That was the BC1 of the past, you know what I mean? So yeah, that got my name out there. And then after that, I started traveling to all the events. Yeah.
True, that makes sense.
And then besides that 101, I mean, another one was my last major win, which was freestyle sessions. So in 2015 with Seven Commandos. That was like, I was kind of like retired at the time, right? You know, I wasn't like, you know, I wasn't like, which is kind of funny to think of it now because I was only 36 at the time. And then I was like retiring already.
That's like 4 years for me, bro.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that was like a really awesome win.
True. It was the one you guys beat Foundation in the finals, right? That one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I remember.
was
Yo.
dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching that live stream. That I was like, yo,
Yeah?
let's fucking go, yo.
Yeah.
It was you, Hong Tan, and Wing, right?
No, it was Differ.
Differ.
Yeah,
Oh,
Differ.
okay.
Yeah. But Differ had the wing hat. Like, the right hat that looked like wings. So, you know, people say Koreans all look alike. So.
Your Asians all look alike.
Y'all can say that. I can't say that. All right, so I guess if we're asking personal questions, I got mine. This is my favorite question that we always ask every guest.
Okay.
So when's the time that you've smoked the shit out of someone, and when's the time you've been smoked the shit out of?
When's the time that I smoked somebody?
Like you were like, damn, I smoked the
Like,
shit
got
out of this
destroyed,
guy.
Like he should quit breaking. It's like you dab him, like, bro, you should quit. Yo.
Or with it, and then
I
when's
don't want to say the ones where I smoked somebody.
Yeah, we'll talk about that after.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that after.
Alright.
Reason, you know,
Patreon, baby.
Because actually, when I come back and I think about it now, right? Like I never wanted, like, you know, during that time I wanted to hurt people's feelings. You know? Like, that's why I got into breaking. I didn't get into breaking to make friends.
Yeah.
I had tons of friends. I was like, you know, I wanted to, you know, I was like deep down inside, I was like, I had a lot of pain. You know what I mean? Like internal pain. Like I felt like I was nobody. I'm a nothing, and like I'm stupid. Whatnot. So when I battle people, I wanted them to feel what I was feeling. You know what I mean? That was my whole thing, right? So when I started to battle people, the reason why I think I was good at battling is because I just didn't have any. I didn't care about myself, right? But I just wanted to see in that person's eyes that it hurt their feelings. You know what I mean? Like, you know? And I just used my breaking to be like, that's nothing. You got something for this, and so, you know.
Oh shit.
So I did it to some. So I was able to beat some people, but then when they stopped breaking, like, you know, because it's kind of like that's how it was back then. If you were to get smoked,
yeah, you're kind of done, right?
It's kind of like, you know, the reputation's done. You know, like your reputation's kind of like, okay, you lost to that guy, and you either had to train harder to come back, but if that wasn't in you to train harder to beat that person, you're just gonna quit. You're gonna bounce, That's my dad. Right? You know, so you probably quit. And so when they quit, or they kind of like fell away from breaking, actually that made me like not happy.
True.
Like I really kind of like, I was like, oh shoot, man, like these guys were like my favorite, like the best of the best rivals. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Like,
So you weren't like Shang Tsung, bro, like stealing people's soul and be happy with that.
oh man. Yeah. Well, I mean, because I trained for them, right? So some people, for them, they could have their reasons. They could say, "Oh, I bit their stuff," or took their ideas. But that's what I'm training for. I'm training to see what the moves you got and take that and throw it back in your face. You know what I mean? Like that was my goal, right? Like, like to take your moves and make it better.
Right.
Whatever you got, I'm gonna train that and take it to the next level in my way, right?
Right.
So there's some people that I battled and I regret that. You know what I mean? How I acted in that battle. And so even though I smoked them or not, I feel bad.
Okay.
Yeah. But the one time that I think I got smoked, I was like, damn, I got smoked. Was when it's what made me get better.
Okay.
When I came back to Canada after being a god in Philippines, right? And I came back to Canada, just getting back into breaking because I was gone for 6 months on a soul searching trip, and then I go to this. The first jam was in Hamilton, like it was a state hip hop thing, a hip hop festival. It's not a jam. Hip hop festival. It's on the stage. B-boys are gonna be there. There's no competition at that time. I get up on the stage. It's like '98. Right, and then there was Boogie Brats were there, and back then you never really called people out. You called someone out, it was like
beef
serious. It was like, yo, you calling someone out, and at that time, like I didn't see Migas for a long time. Right, like he left the crew, and then I went to the Philippines shortly. I came back and we saw each other, and we're like, hey, what's up? Like like a TikTok. So when I got up on the stage and I was throwing down, I was kind of killing it. Everyone was kind of killing it. And then he called me out, right? And I was shocked.
You didn't even know.
I was not ready, right? And so. I don't know, but the footage is not out there, I guess. Like, I mean, there's some pieces of that battle, but not really. And, but if I watch the battle now, I probably would be different. But in my mind, I was beat, right? Because I wasn't hitting the stuff. And I was just like, oh, I could have given him a way better battle. Oh, I was like so upset.
Was that the one Ken Swift was at?
No, it wasn't a jam like that.
Oh, okay,
it was just like an outdoor hip hop.
It was just a thing,
kind of
okay.
Thing, that like. Because that's the only place where you'd see breaking. There was no breaking jams, right? Yeah, and at that time, so I feel like that's the one time that I can really feel like I got smoked, and then it made me come back super harder.
True. Who would you say would be your greatest rival in Toronto? Would Migas be that guy?
I don't know. It's like, man, it's just so hard to say.
Are you guys cool now, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we made up and
Good.
We became like, because like we were like 16 and we were like kids. And we
that's super young.
We started together. We stayed at each other's house all the time. When the story about when he left and joined Boogie Brats, it's kind of like it's kind of weird story, right? Like we were together every single day, like not every day, like every weekend we meet because he lived in Brampton, I lived in Saga, and our crew's in Scarborough. So we would meet and travel all the way, stay together the whole weekend, either at my house or someone else's house. And then we would go back to the GO station together, wait for each other's bus, we'd go and I go, like, so we were always together. And then the one day, this is how we went Boogie Brats, right? Like, we went to the C&E and Bag of Trix always performed at C&E.
Right.
And we watched Bag of Trix perform. It's phenomenal. Always phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
They kill it, like, so jealous, And then after the stage is off, we're like, yo, let's jump on the stage and let's throw down. So we just jump on the stage because the lights are off, no one's around. We start breaking on the stage, right? Just throwing down. Me, Migas, a couple of guys, and the other guys that were there. And then the Boogie Brats come on, right, the stage. And they, they're nice guys. They're just throwing down on the stage too. But, Migas is kind of like a, kind of hood, right? So he starts trying to, in some way, call them out, one-up them. If I go out, he'd be like, yeah, what you guys got for that, right? And so he's just like, yo. And back then, if you want to really battle a crew, the way you do it is you have to do some recon. Like you have to
like scout them out.
You have to scout them. Like you have to like call people. Hey, do you know anyone that knows this crew? Right? This is how we used to battle before.
Oh,
you know
shit.
This person? Yeah. Okay. We're like, okay. Let me get their number. Okay. Hey, do you know is this blah blah? Oh, you don't know? Oh, is this number? Okay. Let me get his number. You get his number. You finally get a hold of them. Is this so and so? Right? I'm not gonna say the names.
Some
right?
taken shit,
yeah.
And he's like, yeah. Who's this? Right? Yo, I'm from Supernaturalz, or I'm from this crew. Right? We want to battle you guys.
God damn.
Right? Yeah, okay, we're down to battle you anytime, where and when. Okay, when's the next jam? Let's go to this jam, blah, blah, it's going to be this time. We'll meet you there. Okay, cool. We're going to be wearing this color. You know what I mean?
Fuck? That's like a hit, bro.
That's how we used to battle, right?
Oh, shit.
That's fucking sick, yeah.
Right? I know, right? And so he called them, and he's like, yo, want to battle, Supernatural want to battle you guys. And they were like, yo, we just want to like practice with you guys. And we're like, really?
It's like anticlimactic.
Right?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Right? And so Mingus was like, yo, we're gonna go meet up at Finch Station, Young and Finch, at a certain time, right? And so we're gonna go chill, like practice with Boogie Brats, right? So I was like, cool. So he went and met up with them first, right there, and I came 2 hours late, like super late for whatever reason. I don't even remember why I was so late, but I got there 2 hours late and they were gone, right? And so for the rest of the weekend, he like practiced with them, chill with them, and break with them, and I guess they got along so good that after the week was done, he called me, right? Just literally just in 3 days, in 4 days, he was just like, yo, I'm gonna join Boogie Brats.
Shit.
And I was like, what? Because we never made it a thing that, you know, once you're down for life. We never actually said that. But it was just, in the streets, it's just assumed, right?
Yeah.
Like, unless you get absorbed by a bigger squad, and you join that squad, that's what's assumed, right? So he's like, yo, but I want you to come with me.
Shit.
And I was like,
what a crossroads, yo.
right?
Holy
I was
shit.
like, he's my best friend, right? Like, he's my best friend. So I'm like, oh man, I don't know, right? Like, what about the rest of the guys? He's like, yeah, but yo. And he told me all the things that I really liked. He goes, yo, these guys, like they actually do shows, they do bar mitzvahs, they can make money from breaking. Don't you want to do it? You said you wanted to do shows. I was the only guy in the crew that wanted to do shows.
Yeah.
And he's like, you could do it. And I was like, oh shoot, but I couldn't. I just couldn't make a decision because of the street loyalty kind of thing. I couldn't make a decision there and then. I was going to make it, right. And I actually think that a lot of people talk about this, right? Even boys from Baggy Trix and everyone, you say that if I joined with him at that time, the whole history would have been written differently.
Yeah, it was like it's completely different.
So I was gonna join, but I said I need some time, and he goes, please, just answer me right away, right? Like as soon as possible, right? And so I waited, and and I was just couldn't make my decision, and finally a week later he called me and said, yo, I'm sorry, man, but it's too late for you to join. And he's just like, and I was like, really? I was like, okay.
Would you have joined at that time?
I couldn't make my decision. Like,
so you still had no idea what you wanted to do.
I still didn't know what I was going to do.
I
was stressed. And everyone in the crew was like, Supernatural was like, yo, is Dyzee going to go with him? He's probably going to go with him, right? And so they would have
been pissed, eh?
They would have been pissed, and it would have been like, it would have been different, right? Because I would have, but the big difference is that my family is from Scarborough, right?
Yeah.
So I was living in Saga because I got kicked out of the school boards for like fighting, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'd always spend my weekends at my mom's in Scarborough, so it's kind of weird, right? Like, so I kind of had that problem where he's from Brampton, where he didn't have to come to this area anymore. Right?
Okay, I see.
So I was kind of like, oh shoot, right? And then, so when it's too late, then he's just like, yeah, I'll see you at Rocksteady, and I'm like, yeah, man, I'll see you at Rocksteady, and that's how it split up.
Wow, what a story!
Right? It was
like some Sasuke Naruto shit, bro. So this is basically when Migas left Supernaturalz, right? This thing. Oh shit.
That's when he left. This is about 90. I think it's 96. Yeah.
That's when I was fucking born too. Yo. That was a bad year then. Yeah. Didn't Tupac die that year too?
Yeah. It was 96. And then so. Yeah, and then he blew it up. Then he blew up, right? Like he got what he was aiming for, right? Like he.
And so did you as well. Like
I mean, it took me longer, right? But he would have been a different b-boy if he was with us too, because it took us a while to learn the foundation. We were like Supernaturalz came from hip hop dances.
Right.
You know what I mean? Dad started breaking again. You know what I mean? Whereas he went to KML joined the crew,
right?
So they got their foundation from and they were also part of it. They were also Boogie Brats were also affiliated. They made a crew called Ultimate Unit with Intricate. Intricate were like nasty foundation, like they had so much swag, like straight they Rocksteady kind of like b-boy style, but they were all they're all black, they were all funky, they were all nasty. You know what I mean? So we got that foundation from them, and there's the right ingredients. Then he got the attitude from KML. When KML came in, he brought that New York attitude.
Okay.
Yeah.
True.
So.
Yeah. All right.
I guess we're gonna do part 2.
No. We'll save part 2 for another day. But because my laptop's literally about to die.
Cool.
But man, 1 hour just freaking flew by. Like I'm just listening. I'm just like, shit, bro. This is like.
He can do that. He'll do that.
This is that guy, bro. I don't know why this guy didn't even make his own podcast, bro. This
Yo, I told you. Remember in France, I told you.
Like, bro, you can talk all day and like people will listen. You're like that.
No, I can't. I don't want to monologue, but but when people are talking, I can talk like this. But that's why you guys doing this is really good, man. It's awesome. I told you from before, man. What you're doing is really awesome, man. Yeah, so support it. Everyone should support it. I support it. I think a lot of people support this. Yeah.
Respect.
True, thanks, yo. Yeah, I mean, like, yo, I watched your channel a lot too, man. When you're doing the art, when you're showing the hour system shit and like judging, I was like, yo, what the fuck do you do that with every battle, bro? That shit is high.
Yeah.
Love that
actually.
shit.
It's gonna come back in the future. We have
good.
Yeah, yo, respect. All right, yo. So before we end this podcast, so Dyzee, would you like to give a shout out to anything or anyone or like?
Yeah, big shout out to Supernaturalz, the present and past and everything like that. All the guys that and to shout out to all my past rivals. You guys are the reason why I had to train so hard and get to where I am, and you guys are like still an inspiration. From everyone from Bboy Trix, Boogie Brats, DDT, all of them. Mad props to everybody, and mad props to the new generation to Toronto. I want to shout out Toronto and Canada, Vancouver. I saw Vancouver, Montreal. I've just seen so many guys just coming up, and it's just blowing my mind. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I just want to shout out to the whole Canada scene, because just someone from the hearts from Canada, living outside and just looking back, going, wow, man, you guys make me want to move back.
Just in the summer, this is the best part of Canada.
Yeah,
you come for the best part.
Yeah, yo. So again, yo, we got Dyzee for part 1, yo. We kept it municipal, national, yo. But next time we get our mom, this is an international man, yo. We have so much to ask him about. But we'll get him for part 2, so stay tuned for that. But this is It's Just Breaking podcast, episode number 85. We finally did it, yo. We met one of our inspiration. We got him on our podcast, yo. The fucking legend.
80 episodes later, we got him.
Yeah. we would have gotten him earlier, but again, Supernatural
it's probably for the best. It's probably for the
True. All right, yo. Peace, yo.
All right, y'all. Peace.